Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and we are here on the 13 days of Halloween, Sherpaween. I'm going to show you step by step, fully focused for beginner level of painting, how to create this creepy cocktail, the highball. I got pugnacious with that. Now on the mic that you just heard giggling is my husband John. I guess I wasn't giggling as much as a kaffa, a heffa. I don't. He's not so much a giggler, but it's the chuckle that we get. So besides interesting chuckling, he tracks me with cameras. And there's several in here. He zooms them in. He makes sure that you see every part of my paint mix. He makes sure that you see every brush stroke. So you're not missing anything. So if you're painting with me at home, you're getting the highest possible chance of success. Also, it's going to be like I'm right there with you, except you can turn me off and rewind me and pause me, which in real life you can't really do. If you check the description below, there is a link to our website. Now, there's a lot of stuff on our website that I really would love you to check out. There is a free traceable. So if you're like, girl, I want to paint, but I'm not up for drawing today, that's too stressful, no worries. We have a traceable. And if you've never used one before, there's a video on how to use it there. There's even a video on if you've never painted with acrylic paint before on how to get started. I have also a handy dandy step-by-step quick look guide, and that shows you each level of the painting, which we'll follow along with here, so that you don't feel that anxiety being lost and not knowing what's next. That way you get to do you the way you like to. There's also grid maps for those of you guys that are kind of starting to draw things in yourselves, and I will demo that process today. This one is super simple. I'm way excited about this one.
Oh, me too.
This is an insomnia-inspired piece. Let's just hop on in, babe.
Okay.
Okay, so the materials that we have today are Mars Black, Carbon Black. Either one is fine, just a nice black paint. Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, Cad Yellow, Cad Red Medium, Alizarin Crimson, Titanium White, and a Zinc or Tinting White. And what that is a very transparent white. It's just helpful with the little foggy bits of mist and snow. It's not, if you don't have it, it will not ruin your painting. It's just a nice touch. Now, here you're noticing kind of what we're doing. Our first thing, is we're going to be putting the black canvas, and then I'll show you how to sketch this in. But really, I want to say a couple of things about this. I don't know how this ended up being as whimsical as it did, considering there's eyeball garnish. But somehow it was. And it was one of those things. This is what happens in Halloween when you stay up and watch cooking channels and you watch sugar crafters do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think about the things differently. So that's my cooking channel plug that is, and it's not sponsored. All right. We're hoping for Kai to have affordable and fast home repairs. Healing for Rue Ann's brother. Wishes. This is a private wish, but it's a wish for grief to soften and joy to return without the guilt and sadness that can come around feeling joy again. Wish for swift and absolute legal resolution. And as I have been wishing a lot lately, I'd like to be a Disney artist. Disney? Walt Disney should come and inspire them to be like, no, you must. Oh, what's that? I got all that black on my brush. So what happened there is that I had some black kind of hiding in my brush.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to take the nice purple watercolor pencil away, a little black was there. Good news for that is that I was going to use black on the canvas anyway, so no harm. If it wasn't something you meant to use, you could just go flash. Don't soak it because the whole canvas will work, but flash wash it off in a sink if you needed to. Now I'm going to just load up black paint and paint my whole surface a beautiful solid black so that my canvas camouflages itself into the background. Black and black days are always a lot of fun because the camouflage effect for John.
Well, actually, with the new cameras, it's not a problem.
I'm so excited about today. This was just a fun painting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been loving everybody's paintings from the 13 days here, but also those that are doing the ArtSherpa Halloween Challenge, where they're painting every day something Halloweeny. Because at the end of this, I will have 70 Halloween-themed paintings. Maybe a little more than 70.
Wow.
Is that not just wild?
70. That is crazy.
I mean, I had no idea I had so many Halloween feels. But apparently I have a lot of them.
Both you and I do. I think we exchanged our decorate the house with paintings.
This is true. I used to be a lot more craftier in the home. So you can see I've created a nice, beautiful, even black, complete layer of camouflage so you can no longer see the canvas. I'm going to dry that real fast. Make sure I get as much of the acrylic paint out of this brush as I can. Remember, guys, number one thing that you can do to elongate the life of your brushes is to wash them thoroughly with soap and water and lay them flat to dry after every painting session. Don't let that paint dry in them, and don't soak them in the water jugs. It really makes a difference if you can avoid doing those two things to the longevity of your supplies.
So, as you are drying your surface, make sure you use on low heat. That's just going to make sure you don't have any color shift or any problem, especially if you're using a student paint. Student paints tend to be more subject to heat and other things like that. So make sure you're keeping that on your lowest heat setting, and thoroughly dry it, because the other thing is that as you're painting on these subsequent layers, the whites and things, you don't want them to pick up any of that the black and get muddied up. So it's important that you just thoroughly dry this. And if there are pre blackened surfaces that you can get. So if you have one of those are totally.
Okay, all right. So here's a couple of the references we talked about that were on the website. This here is the wrong one I printed out.
Nope.
I printed the one out for the 9x12.
Oh.
I believe.
Is it?
No, it's the 11x14. 7 here. I'm okay. So I gave you a couple this time because you can size down really easily to a 9x12. I also gave you a couple links to some tools that allow you to regrid and resize and print out traceables easily, because I know those are all challenges that you might be facing. But here what we have is a grid map, and all I've got to do is, using kids chalk, make lines at the corresponding measurement points. So 2.5 inches, 5.5 inches, 8.5 inches, and then going down. And then using that, I can use it to figure out where an object is and about how big it is on my canvas, because believe it or not, that is one of your first big challenges that you're going to face. Now, we will be done with our first stage as soon as we chalk sketch in, which I've demoed here in this step, our martini. So that's our goal. To get to that goal, you've either got to take this time to put on your traceable or measure along with me. Woohoo! Measuring along at 5.5 inches, which is the center mark. And then 2.5 inches, which really isn't a mathematical reason. It just worked out that way. And 8.5 inches.
I like the rhyming songiness, sing-song that you're doing there.
Oh, you are the last person in the house that does. I know my kids are like, Mom, don't do it.
That's
I'm
okay.
like, not only am I going to do
it,
it, I'm going to do it in the carpool lane as you leave the car.
I'm totally like, kids, no.
Oh, I love it. One of the great pleasures in my life is messing with my kids. They will never know.
Nope. Well, not until they get older.
No. And then they're going to be like, don't do it. Your grandma will show up at the school in a crazy outfit with wild hair, screaming your name. Honey. Yes, grounding is the soft punishment. So I'm just making sure my lines are complete from top to bottom. The T-square I have here is a 12-inch T-square, so it doesn't completely go across, the space. Now I'm going to do a mark at 3.5 inches, 7 inches, and 10.5 inches. This will go a little bit easier because the T-square is long enough.
Is it?
So I know I'm demoing a lot of grids, but if you guys have been here for a while and you're feeling a little frustrated with that, remember that we have so many first-time painters every show, and they come for years after a broadcast to learn how to paint. If you're here years from now, look at the timestamp. If you're here years from now, say hi.
Hi.
That you're still doing a creepy cocktail, so we can all know that good is out there in the world. How do we use this fabulous tool?
I'm going to be really interested to know how this image evolves over and is used over time.
Well, now that I've done this, I had 10 ideas for 20, more. And I'm just like, I paint almost frantically through the season because I'm always trying to like make sure I get my ideas out before like I get scooped. It's crazy, but it's me. So when you look here, the line of the top of the martini glass is conveniently already put in for us. And all we're going to do for right now is bring a line across here. Yay, martini glass, not requiring curves, to just below that point right there. Look at that. Oh, that's fantastic. That was pretty okay.
It's a V.
You made a V. Now on the V, you're going to go across there. You know that you've got this right here, right? And we're going to come right here. There's a really fun little eyeball sticking here. And you remember, you're not having to draw the whole thing. You're just dealing with some squares. Really, honestly, this does help develop your brain for general drawing. All right, that's going to be a bigger one today. I'll show you how to erase and refine. It's fun to do, and I'm going to... Where do you want the eyeball to look is always a fun thing. But for sure, make sure your stem is coming down. Sorry. So here at the bottom, and I'll let John come down here, so they're going to work a little bit at the bottom. I've got to create the base of the glass. And all I'm going to do is, in equal distances from the center line, make a slightly curved line. That's all it takes. Then we're going to come slightly to the left on the left-hand side and bring down the stem. As we come down through this area, I'm going to just turn and join up. What? Yep, that's all we're doing. Let's come down and do it the other side. Coming down the stem. And then I'm going to turn and join up. You just make sure your turns are about the same. That's really all you're trying to do. And that's how you're going to create that sense of stem. If it goes up too high, it'll look a little off. All you have to do is come back and erase, which is just a damp brush. There we go. Just the slightest. And now we want to make sure that we've got another little eyeball right here, don't we? Kind of on line with it. And his little stem comes out that way, like a tadpole.
Now,
I love that the eyes are also not matching. And I'm going to clean all of this with, let's get a clean brush. I'll take my favorite blender and actually use it to clean.
This totally reminds me of the rock eyeballs.
It's very much like the rock eyeball video that we did.
No, I mean just like painting the rock eyeballs.
It is exactly like painting one of the rock eyeballs. In fact, if you watch any of the rock eyeballs or follow the step-by-step tutorial that's like a pin tutorial on Pinterest, you will find that it will help you do other types of eyes. So you can see we're just taking off this extra chalk using a damp brush. That's not too bad, is it? And this lets us start to paint in pretty easily. You can even go forth if you want, and I can highly recommend it, and come back with a little bit of a dusting of a second coat of your black.
Oh, just
doesn't have to be a lot, but it can really help. If you've painting student paint, you may find that you needed 2 or 3 coats of black anyways to get a good coverage, because sometimes the student paint black gets real streaky. Ours is not as much, but you never know. Come down the middle here. So that's looking pretty good. We've done step 2. Step 2 was fun. So the next part of this is I've got to start kind of laying in some of the things that I'm going to put in. I'm going to put in the creamy kind of orbital space on the eyeball and begin what's in the martini here. And also I've got to outline the glass. Now to outline the glass, it's pretty fun. I'm going to take a little equal measure of my green and my blue, and I'll mix them together, and that makes phthalo turquoise. So if you remember, it's phthalo blue and phthalo green, phthalo turquoise. You can also buy beautiful tubes of this. My very favorite version is Australian Southern, Matisse's Southern Ocean Blue. But sometimes it can be hard to find. So, but it is awesome. Also, Holbein makes a nice one, and Gold makes a nice one. A bunch of them make a nice one, but that's what you're doing, is a phthalo turquoise. And I'm going to begin by just adding the smallest amount of white to my phthalo turquoise. And I'm going to come here and very delicately kind of talk about this. Now I'm going to paint this back a little bit when I put the eyeball in, and I'll have to put the little lip back. It just takes a minute. I just want to sketch in for right now.
Now, there's already a step-by-step of this, yeah?
There is a step-by-step of this. Check this out. Waiting for you.
Out there on the website.
On the website. How much is it? It's free.
They were just worried that we might have to remind you to take some pictures.
The next one you'll have to remind me on is Baby from Supernatural, because I didn't have a chance to pre-paint that. I just made a digital design for it, and then I'll have to create it from my collage. So there we go. We're just coming down, painting these things, doing these things. I'm going to come here. Doesn't have to be super perfect. These are the first lines that we're putting in. And you'll notice my chalk lines, of course, went much thicker than my brush will go, but that's all right because I can adjust for that as I'm painting. But what I'm not doing is stressing and worrying about where stuff goes. And that's what's important. I'm going to go ahead and fill this part of the stem. If you've ever held a stemware, you'll notice that sometimes, and I may thicken with the blue down the side here, as you would. It works pretty well. Now I'll rinse this brush out, and I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my yellow, some of my alizarin, and I get this kind of not really great orange color. I want a little more alizarin, mixing it into my white. And this is the basis of our eyeball color, so we might as well put that in there. That's got to be a big one this time. Big eyeball. Big ball. Got a little blue in there, but it won't hurt me. This is that first layer of paint, so we're just painting an eyeball. A blank one has no iris, has no supporting structure. It just is a thing. Let's come down here and do this as well. And you kind of notice that I do that little swirling thing with my brush. That's real helpful. Not really a technique so much as a strategy. What you'll find is that, like normally if you paint at an easel, you would stand way back from your work at the end of your brush. And when you paint at a table, you're much closer on it. I tend to be closer on my artwork because of our filming setup and the way that we teach here is all that it is. Now I'm going to make sure that my little line goes right across the eyeball. Otherwise, the perspective is weird. I think that's looking pretty good. Step 2 completed. Let's give this a dry so we can get to the next step.
Seems good.
Does it seem good?
Yeah.
I think it's good.
So yeah, we'll just make sure that you dry your surface thoroughly, again, as she says. And thank you guys for coming and joining us. Thank you for coming and joining us on today. I'm still a little nasally. I had a mild response to some essential oils. And so, wrong camera? There you go. So, move my cameras around over here also while we're talking. So, you know, ooh, there it is. Just she's going back over there with some black, I think, just to darken up any areas that. Oh no, it was just water. Just water. See, she's just got water there, and she's erasing the chalk line. So she's a little distracted there. What exactly she was doing. So, but don't use heat. Thank you for for joining us, guys. Super, super appreciate it. Love having you guys here on a crazy Thursday afternoon. Sorry, I'm a little nasally. As I was saying, didn't realize that if you touch essential oils and then touch your face, you have maced yourself with essential oils, and that's kind of cool. So
That was fun for me.
what was fun?
So what you saw me doing there is while I was drying, I went ahead with a clean brush and clean water and wiped off the excess chalk. And then I went back and added a little bit of black drying as I went, just to touch up any areas that I thought looked thin. And it looks mysterious, but it's truly, truly not. I'm back to my number 4 round, Mr. Cooney.
Yes.
And for one scary moment, I was like, I'm in my coffee, but I'm not actually in my coffee. Actually, I need a bigger brush than that. I'm going to get a bright.
A bright.
Not the biggest bright in the world. Not the sharpest bright in the world, but pretty good. I'm going to get a number 6 ruby satin. I'm going to take my green, and I'm going to paint in my first layer of the green. Just phthalo green. Painting this in. Gives you a nice deep green to begin with. Paint that down through here. I do like to curve my brush strokes a bit. And it's just to give sort of an implied line to the curve of the glass. That's all that's going on. And also this first layer of green, believe it or not, even though it blends in, really kind of helps what comes next work better. Now I'm going to take a small amount of green over into my yellow, because my cocktail is glowing. I'm going to come on this side, come down, and I'm just going to brush across here. Have fun. And then I can always get back into the green and come from this side, but I don't wash, see? So it's darker, but the little bit of yellow that's left on my brush definitely impacts it. And come back to more green. And what I'm doing is I'm blending these two zones. Curling those brush strokes. Everything is wet between here. And it does help it blend. I've got another layer of that I'll be doing, but it's just really helpful to get that in. I'm also going to take a little bit of my yellow and green, and I'm going to come down the stem just a little bit. Because very often, that will reflect in the glass. The color that's above it will reflect below. You can even put a little bit right there. It's never a bad idea. Go ahead and remove my chalk line. Need that. And I'm going to start thinking a little bit about the glass below. So I'm going to grab some aqua and just a smidge of the white. This is that phthalo turquoise that I made. And I'm going to just curve gently some brush strokes. Bring that down, and I'm going to just bring one in the center there. All right, just one. I'm going to go ahead and bring a little bit right here to where that dip is. And go ahead and add some darkness along each of the sides, sort of picking up what you've got there. All right. That's wonderful. Now, while this is having a rest, I'm going to go ahead and get my white. It's all right if there's a little bit of the blue in it. And I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to add just a little bit of a reflection right there. I'm going to come up the side with some reflection. Definitely we want to kind of go across. And actually, I'll wait till I'm done putting in my smoke to finish that off, because I'll probably have to reset it back in. Just come down here, adding a little bit of a reflection there. There you go. Looking like a glass. Like they do.
Yes.
You can even add a little bit coming up that side. I try not to connect the lines too much because it's just, glass tends to have bend the light in a real particular kind of way. Before I put in my yellow, I'm going to make my basis for my ocular space. So I'm going to take a little bit of my CAD red medium and my alizarin. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to add the pupil. Oh, that's always fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and come off the back. So I just bring a little brush stroke out and a little brush stroke out.
Those are your eyeball accessories.
Those are, yeah, that's how they plugged in. So, you know, that's how that went. You know, it's all good. It's fine. Oh, I guess I could actually hit that down there too while I've still got that mix going. Just traveling it along. This eyeball, interestingly enough, it's going to have a little bit of that blue. We're going to maybe get a little yellow into it. And I add quite a lot of the white. Just kind of makes it a little brighter aqua. And then again, a little eyeball center. Painting eyeballs is really fun. I'm sure this would not be fun to have happen, but it is fun to paint. And again, I don't know why it's so whimsical, considering there's eyeballs. But it is, so go figure. Now, the smoke, I'm going to take just a bit of my yellow, because this is like, you know, kind of a toxic thing, and I'm going to get my tinting white, and I'm going to do a couple of things. I've got this number 6 bright. I'm going to come up and go back. Get a little more tinting white. And that could blend in. See how that is? Now, if you don't have the tinting white, just use regular white. It'll be okay. It won't hurt it. Now I'll come back here because I know I want it to go like that. Sometimes you know where you want it to go. I leave that black and things showing through. I really do. It's important. And then I'm going to bring some of the smoke out that way. If I need a little yellow, I'll get into it. And the first one curls like that. A little more yellow. There we go. We're just getting that little smokes up. I like to add little bits to just make sure that it feels wispy and playful. You can always get more yellow or yellow-green into it. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
Just pretty, playful, fun, and wonderful. Let's get a little more yellow in here. I want to. I always just like to be like, how would it be? Now I'm here and I've got that kind of really bright yellow green. I might as well go by and take a little bit and add that extra highlight right here.
Yeah.
To the side. Kind of up the ante, so to speak. How's your ante? Have you upped it?
No.
Maybe your ante has been upped. Maybe it hasn't been upped. I like to, while I'm letting this dry so I can put the glass back, I like to shade my eyeball.
Oh.
So I'm going to take a little bit of the black and the alizarin crimson. And I'm going to come underneath here. Just make sure that I've got a little bit of shading happening here.
Makes it look more roundy.
Yeah, it just needs to have a little bit to look more roundy before I put the blood vessels and things in that make it look more like an eye. Then I'm going to take a lot of the paint out of my brush, and I can come get titanium white or the zinc white. It's not really that important. I'm going to come over the top just to make sure that our shading, see how we've highlight on top, shadow on bottom? Doesn't seem like such a big thing, but it's actually pretty critical, as critical things could go. The other thing that I think is real fun to do is to take a little bit of my cad red and some of my alizarin, and let's add little veins. I like to make little splits and lines that come up. Just put them around. If I need to improve the flow of my brush, I pull that out and just grab some. Oh, that's good, right? Just doing the little veins around there, and you can give your eye a second coat. Give your eye a second coat. I'm going to grab a lot more cad red this time. And then come off and highlight some of the turns of the stem. And I might come in and brighten some of the red on my red eye. Okay, all this is amusing to me.
I like it.
It's a thing I do. The next thing that I might do is I might grab a little bit of my blue and some white. And I'm going to come here and add just a little bit of blue to kind of imply that vascularness is going on.
Just some complexity.
Some complexity. Let's throw down, right? We got to throw down a little bit. We're going to throw down. I'm going to get a little bit of my thing and come back and put my lip back. So that's all back and happy. I'm going to come here and I'm going to go ahead and vascular it too somewhat. Just on the tiptoe of my number 4 ArtSherpa brush. You don't have to have this brush. It's just a good brush. But there are other good brushes. But what you do not want to settle for is a not good brush. Make sure what you're painting with isn't forcing you to have thick lines or fighting you every step of the way, because that can be super upsetting. I dig this so much. I'm going to go ahead and get some of my little aqua mix that I had from earlier. Green, 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 green. White, white, white. Making that deep pool aqua, right? It's especially creepy in an eye that's not in a head. It just is, man. I'm going to come here and grab some red. And let's work on this little ocular space. These little veins will pop. You can see it come to the back side and then I stop and then come to the front and then carry that on. And you can exaggerate, it's okay. Rinsing, rinsing, rinsing as you do. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my blue, smidge of white, and my blue, and I will add that second veining. Isn't that wonderful? What do we get to put in the center of the eye?
A pupil?
A pupil!
Yay! I remember some things from biology.
What I really like is when we do slightly creepy ones and then teenage kids get them for Christmas. That's my favorite. So if you do that, get pictures and share in group. I just think it's really great when teenagers are like, man, grandma painted me a painting. I bet it's going to be some flowers and stuff. And it's like, eyeballs. They make the best faces when that happens. All right. Only if it's age appropriate, of course. I'm going to put another little eyeball right here. If your paint is thick, sometimes it can help to drop a little bit of water into it. Just to get that pupil going. And I may need to move this to a position that it's more comfortable because I'm working from a downward angle. That can actually make it harder. There we go. That's not terrible. Rinsing it out thoroughly. And we're going to do some cool stuff. We're going to get some white. And we're going to come here and add a couple reflections. I like to add some reflections down the veining. I'm letting this dry before I come back and put the eye reflection in. Let's hit another couple of reflections here on the eye because it's wet. And then the veining needs some too. See how we do? I'm going to grab a little bit and right here at the stem, add that. I'm going to come along with just some white and add that. Adding that little white on the eye right here. And that little reflection in. And then I definitely want to add a little bit right here. Just getting that eyeball looking like it's popping and wet. Look at that. They look all wet and shiny. That's awesome. Now we get to do the bloody drips. So let's take a little bit of alizarin and cad red together. It kind of also improves their coverage, but it keeps it nice and deep. And we're going to come along here at this little lip. All right, and I'm going to look even at my reference. I don't think I came back that far back that first time. Look at your reference, girl. Oh. Looks like I smudged blood on the thing. That's actually okay. So
no, it's lipstick on the edge.
You know it's red something. There we go. I just got rid of it. Coming down here. I like to do a big drip up to another little big drip. And then the drip can come along here, kind of under the glass. Maybe even run down a bit. Now paint all the drips in. Oh wait, you gotta give it a drop. That's also nice and juicy. Paint it all in with that mix of red. It's okay if it's a bit transparent because really, frankly, it would be. That is not that opaque on glass. And it's really weird that I know that. Maybe you know it too. I don't know.
I really like this glass. It turned out really nice.
It's just, you know what? And you could put other cocktails in this. You could take this technique and be like, you know, I want a spring cocktail or a New Year's Eve cocktail. It doesn't have to, you know, just be the creepiest of cocktails.
Right. You could put holiday eyeballs in almost any drink.
Really, any drink. Holiday eyeballs. This is what happens when you're raised by Beetlejuice. I'm coming along here and I'm just making this a little bit darker. You may even want to grab some of your blue and mix it into your red so you get kind of almost a purple. And come along this edge and create a shadow. Right? Because you're getting a little bit of a shadow going. Maybe some there. It doesn't have to be that much. We're almost done, literally. We're going to go ahead and put some little bloody smears down below too, though. Let's mix our alizarin and our other stuff and splat some. Let's say there was a mess made. Sometimes, you know, you make a mess. You do your best to clean up in your clean room, but you make a mess.
You got your little roundy highlights on the glass still.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not done.
Okay, I just was like, oh, we can't forget the roundy highlights.
Thank you. No, we won't. Because I still have the highlights. I do those when I do the bloody highlights.
I'm
going to add some bright pops of red here of just the pure cad. Not everywhere, guys, but just a couple places.
Backseat panicking.
Definitely. Oh, but by all means, you're my co-host. Keep me on track, right? And we're just trying to get the multi-dimensional space that blood will give us. While this is drying, I'm going to go ahead. You can, if you have it, take some tinting white. And, you know, come across here. Well, if it's going to work for me, you can take, it's very transparent, so that gives you a sort of transparent inner glaze.
Yeah.
If you have it out. If you don't, just do the titanium white part of this highlight. Now I'm going to grab the titanium white.
That layering of that makes it super pop.
It does, and it gives it that sense. Plus, you're learning a lot about how if you were to paint one of the very serious still lifes, this is kind of a version of that, just lighter and more fun with eyeballs.
Lightweight.
But
you get the fundamental idea of what we're talking about.
I can't believe we haven't made more eye puns in this. Now I'm going to come along the top of the rim and add some reflection. And right here on the little bloody rim, I'll add some, and then we'll come here, add a little bit. Let's say right here, some dots. Just everywhere we want that little hot reflection. And then right there. I love it. Make those even brighter on my eye. Finally, and not least, not last. Anything I gotta do from there? Make sure you give your little blood down here some
highlights.
Yeah. Because otherwise, you know, what were you doing all this time? Look at us go. We
that turned out
full
great.
on painted it. I'm going to sign it with whatever's right there. And add a little more water to it so it's thinner. I'll come right here underneath this eyeball. And then go. So everyone knows how weird and creepy I am.
I like it.
I do too. I promise we'll do another cocktail next year, and we'll do some more cocktails on the channel because that's too much fun. Now, before I completely let you go, I want to remind you that you've got other things to see. So if it's okay,
yeah, let's review what we got.
Let's look back and go, hey, we had some Red Riding Hood.
Oh, don't put it on top. You can get
And we had a really fun Halloween tree.
Yep.
And we did Christine.
Yep. You can move the eyeballs, but just don't stack.
There you go. Don't stack. And then we had some Sherpettes.
We did.
That's right, the OG Sherpettes. Because you know they would have been, right?
Uh-huh.
You know it. Those girls paint with us on weekends. And then, because you got to have creativity the rest of the year, our Happy Time Pumpkin Man who's having a gourd time. So there's more than that. We were painting for 13 days. That's 13 Halloween paintings that are fresh.
Where's our eye?
Fresh and gooey.
Where's our eye drink?
All right, and then we'll turn around and say goodbye.
There it is.
All right, I'm going to turn around and say goodbye. Oh my gosh, guys. Can you imagine that at your next Halloween party? Maybe it's a year-round piece at your house. I used to have a kind of house where this would be a year-round decor piece. However you use your paintings, I love that you could literally have original artwork for your whole home seasonally. We only have a couple more paintings left in the 13 days of Halloween, I think we're down to the witch's legs, the glam witch. And then we're going to be closing out with Supernatural's baby. So you'd have to be a fan of that show, or really like 19 something Plymouth,
which
I wouldn't be allowed in the car.
68 Plymouth Fury.
68th Plymouth Furry. Thank you. I know the license plate number. That's all that matters. All right. Never, never, never miss an opportunity to have fun and make your life just a little more colorful and a little better. We just have this time that we're here, you know, and you can just make so much stuff, so much more fun and enjoyable and saturated with joy. And that is what we all need right now, is to be saturated with joy. So be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.